So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. So yeah, I think we have done our demo things, talked about Appian and everything. So today onwards, we are going to start our technical discussion. So before we start, anything, any questions, any doubts, if you have, please to ask.
Yesterday, you told me about a data model for leave management system. Can you please briefly explain that?
Okay. Yeah. So see, for creating any application, right? It doesn't matter it is in Java or Appian or Python or any other thing, right? So first thing that we should be having a good structure of our database. A proper data model will lead you a proper application development. So always try to make sure the columns that you need, the tables that you need, you have it, well defined, well structured, so that if it requires some changes, definitely there is a chances that we might have to change something, but it should be in minimal, right? If you need to change your database all the time, that definitely not as a good experience for your application development. So data model is like table structure, what are the columns it might have for your application that we have decided to go with. So that's a data model.
Okay.
Okay. You might have, you could have done that in an Excel sheet. Like, okay, for lead management, I might need a list of your employees. So we may have employee table. What are the columns we may need it? We might need an, leave details table or something like that. So all those things we could come. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions, guys? Anyone has done that activity? Have you tried to design a data model? No? Okay. Right.
Yes.
So any go ahead.
For leave management system, we can write the data model like employee ID, employee name, like that only. No?
Right, like that only, right? Yes.
Leave data.
Mhm. So you can think about a table and then what are the columns it might have. So all
Yeah.
those things you can think about it. Anyways, okay, we are not going to start that application today. We will talk about the basics of Appian development, like what are the variables we have, how we declare the variables and all. So that's fine. You can have another day to think about it. All right, so let me share my screen quickly. You guys can see it, right? Okay. So I hope everyone has completed their sign up in the Appian committee and have their own practice environment. Anyone need any help there? Yes, no, not applicable. Anything? No.
Yes, we have done our signups.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so let's start with learning how do we create an application and what are things we need to create an application. So how do we give the name and all, right? So we'll try all those things by creating a new application. So on this page, when you sign up, right, you will get the page. Basically, we have multiple shoots in an Appian URL, right? If you see, this is the base URL till here. This is a base URL for your Appian environment. This is a shared environment, and then uh, you know um, based on the authentication, and then they have make it as shared that you cannot see someone else application, but this is basically a shared environment. Now, after the shoot, if you put a slash and design, then you will be getting this page. In this page, you will see this is particularly for the developers where you can go and do your development stuff. Right. If you remember, we were changing this to tempo to move to the tempo page. So that's how this URL is being designed. If once you have your own, start working on your company's environment, right? You will be having something similar where you can see the shoots and then design and then tempo and like that. You will be using your applications. But basically, for us, for the developer, this is the page where we need to do the development. Let's talk about few things on this page. What are things we have? By default, you will be able to see the list of application available to your environment. You might also see some recent application that you might have opened up, you know, and then on the top you can see there's a link button called new application. So this new application will let you to create a new application for you. As I mentioned, one Appian environment may have more than one applications, right? So on the left side, you see the first tab is called applications, where you can see all those applications listed here. You can also do some filters by giving the name, last modified by, last modified on, all those things you can have. You can see the filters and then bring your application up. Or it also has given the pagination here. If you can navigate, you can also navigate if there are more than 10 applications. Second option that we have is called objects. This objects that you see here is irrespective of the application. So if let's say I want to see all of my constant, if I check this constant checkbox, it will give me the all the constant available in my Appian environment, irrespective of any application. So this constant might be part of any other applications as well. If you remember, yesterday we opened one of the application, and then we saw there also we have an object tab, where if you click on this object, um, this one, right, it will give you the constant which is available within this environment. Okay, but if you click the objects outside of your application window, then it will give you the whole objects available throughout your applications that you have. The third option that you have is called deploy. If you have any deployment done to your environment, and from this environment, then you can have incoming and outgoing. It means that how many incoming deployment has been made on this system, and how many outgoing deployment has been made from this system to some other environment, that you can see on the deployment tab. And then we have monitor, where you can go and see the running instance of your process models, that it might have multiple threads, so that you can see it here. And then we have a user tab. User tab is basically to show you the list of the users that you have in your environment. All right, so let me go to the application, and then we will start creating a new application. So whenever you go and click a new application, it will ask you what is the name of your application that you want to build. Make sure this should be unique. It should not have the same application available in your environment, right? So for us, we are going to have a leave management system, right? Now, once you see the leave management system, right, you see there's something called prefix. So this prefix is about whatever object you will be creating, right, in your environment. All those objects will start having with this prefix LMS. But in this shared environment, Appian also suggests that, hey, whenever you might have received an email, whenever you have logged in, it might have mentioned that if you want to create any application, please prefix with your user ID, that work ID that Appian has given to you. So in my case, I think Appian has given me a work ID. If I can't see here, let me see. It must have some work ID assigned to me. Yeah, this is the work ID W0221. So this work ID is being assigned to me, right? So what Appian is asking, because we are using a shared environment, please try to make sure you use your work ID before your prefix. So let's say I'm going to use my work ID, that's called W0221 underscore and LMS. So whatever object we are going to create in our under our application, those objects name will start with this. Okay. Now in the description, any question in the prefix?
Yes, how you get it that W0221?
You will get it here, or let me give you 1 second. You must have written, received in the email as well. But if you go and see here, right, and then cloud database, it will show you your work ID. Okay.
Okay.
And you must have received in your environment as well, and you can see on the top as well, this work ID is assigned to you. Okay, but basically they put it in the email. All right, so now as we have given the name and the prefix, any question in the prefix? Do you understand what the prefix is? Yeah.
Still I'm not clear. Sorry.
Okay. No. All right, and then you can put a description. These are not mandatory fields. If you see the whatever is mandatory, I can put a star mark here. Not sorry, but it's always a good practice to put a description. So we can have, let's say, an application to handle leave requests to manage. All right. And then you see there is a checkbox available, generate groups and folders to secure and organize your objects. So for your easiness, for you to help you and not you to create manually, Appian has given this option that if you check this checkbox, by default it will be checked. And then if you create your application, Appian is going to create around 7 objects for you, by itself, so that you do not have to create it manually. Why these objects? Because even if you don't check this checkbox app, you need to create this, at some point of time in Appian environment, for your application security and all. So Appian say that, hey, if this is kind of the thing that we might have to create all the time, why not just to give this option to automatically create this object? So I'll go with this checkbox checked, and then I hit the create button. So once we hit the create button, you see now this Appian is asking to secure your package. And to secure this package, it has already created 2 objects, which is a group. So this group you will be able to see inside the application. As the Appian has created this automatically, it has given that, okay, I have created 2 groups for you. And if you see this one, right, it has started with this work ID underscore LMS, the prefix that I have given. And then it says administrator group will have the admin role and the user group will have the viewer role. As we have talked about, this admin can do anything in the application. Viewer may have the access of the application where they can go and use your actions, read, write, perform your database, and all these things that can be performed by the users. So the end users who is going to work with this application will be part of this particular group. So that's how they are securing this application that we are creating. And once you hit the save, you will see that an application has been created for you, leave management system. If you go back, now you see one more application has been added here as leave management system with my work prefix given here, the description that I have mentioned, right? So if you click inside this application, you will be able to see this front page that explore your application, see all the objects. So if this is fine, they have just given you as a direct access to create it directly from here, but you need to go to the build option. If you click on the build option, you will see these 7 items has been created by the system itself. These were the 2 groups that was created by the Appian. Appian has also created some folder structure. It has given 1 process model folder, 2 document folders where it has given, okay, 1 for the artifacts and 1 for the some application documentation. Generally they have given, and it has also created 1 knowledge center. So if you remember, right, I mentioned that all those document folders are part of the knowledge center. So if you click on this knowledge center, you will be able to see those same document folder inside it. But it does not have the rule folder and process model folder because those are having their own separate repository. Right? So it has created 1 knowledge center. Inside that, it has 2 document folder, and then it has created 1 rule folder where we can save our constant, interface, and expression rules. Yes, questions? Is there any questions?
We have created our application that these folders are defaultly there.
No. When we created our application, right, you remember there was a checkbox. So we checked that checkbox so that Appian, we were asking Appian to let's go and create this object for us. So even if you don't check this checkbox, we will have to end up creating these objects. So if we need to create this object, so Appian says why not it created by default, automatically from the system itself. You don't have to create it manually. So basically, it has created these 7 objects for our easiness so that we can go and straight away use this instead of create it manually. If
Okay.
we don't tick that checkbox, we will have to create this manually. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So you see these 7 objects that Appian has created, all the objects has started with this prefix, and this prefix was given by us on the while creating the application. Any
Question.
questions so far, guys?
If you don't give a prefix, then does it automatically picks whatever comes out? Is it mandatory to put it?
No, giving the prefix is not a mandatory. So what happens
Okay.
if you don't give the prefix, you will while creating the objects, you will have to put some prefix. Even if you don't put it, but it always a good practice to give a prefix so that you can uniquely identify any particular object. Now let's say there is an application called letter management system. So by default, it might also be with the LMS, right? So if both are
Yeah.
having same prefix, Appian will throw out a message that, hey, this prefix is already being used. So please try to use a new prefix so that you can uniquely identify your object. Right?
To the particular application. Correct. Okay.
Yeah, for a particular application, right? So imagine someone has created a rule called get customer details, which is a very common name, right? You can have a get customer details, but this get customer details might be used by many other applications as well. So how do you know which one is belongs to your application? So better to put a prefix so that you can easily identify, oh yes, this is the one that I need to use. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So that's the prefix and then application that we can create. Now, all the objects that we are going to learn for this application, we will be creating inside this by using these new options. Okay. Okay. Any question, guys? Any doubt? How do we create an application and all? No? Right. Great. So now let's talk about some variables. What kind of variables we have in Appian? How do we work with that? We will not be learning all at a time. We will be learning this by whenever you start using it, so that you can relate and where to use and how to use it. Okay. So before starting the variables, let me ask you this question: what is the primitive type variables? What are the primitive type variables?
Integer.
Right. So integer, text, boolean, um, you know, maybe floating. All these are the called
Primitive
primitive type data types, right? In Appian, we have all those variables. Some places you might have to declare the type. Some places you don't have to declare the type. By the assigning the value itself, they will understand what kind of variable it is. Okay. So to learn these variables, I'm going to create an expression rule. If you remember yesterday, we talked about an expression rules. These expression rules are the dummy rules. I mean, we will create right now so that we can understand how do we declare a variable and how do we use it. Okay. So I'm going to create a new expression rule. So I go to the new and say new expression rule. If you see, it comes with a prefix. If you don't put the prefix, it will not come here, so that you will have to type it manually, right? So better to put a prefix. So I'm going to use give the name as test rule 1. This a test rule for local variables. And by default, you see that it has considered this particular folder, the rule folder, right? The last one that you can see here. So all those expression rule, interface rule, constant, we can save into the rule folder. So by default, it has taken. In case it's not, then you must have go and select the rule folder where you want to save your objects that you are creating. So I'll say create. Now, once you hit the create, it will open the page as new page where you can see this is the test rule that we have given the name, and then expression window is here. We can see the data panel here, and all those things. How the result panel, basically the console. If you talk about the Java, it's a console where you can go and check what is happening with the code that you have written. Right. So to declare a variable in Appian, we need a function called local variable. So start typing local variable, it will give you the suggestions what are the functions it has. So you have to select local variables. You do not have to worry about the prefix. Once you select this, it will automatically put the prefix a bang. So a bang, the exclamatory notation in Appian we usually call it bang. So it says a bang local variables. So in the local variables, this is a function that has been declared. Now we will be able to, we are able to now declare the variables here. To declare a variable, we need this function, and the prefix that we need to define a variable is called local, because these are the local variables. So you just say local bang and then anything. You can put any name. Let's say I'm going to say uh, number num1. So if you say num1, it means that we have declared a variable inside this rule which says the name of that variable is the num1. But remember, I have not given the type of it. I have just declared the name of by using this local bang. So if you want to assign any value to this, we simply have to use colon symbol. The double dots comes, right, the colon symbol, and let's say I'm going to assign 10 to this. If you assign the value 10 to this, and to return this we just have to put a comma separate, and then the last line is always kind of going to be a local, return statement. So I'm going to return local num1. So if we do the test rule here now, you will see the test panel will return you the 10, and it will say it's a number integer. Does it have to do anything with the name that I have given as a num? What if I give the name as xyz? And if you try to return the same xyz, again it will just return the value 10, and it is a number integer. So it has nothing to do with the name what you give, but always it's a good practice to give the name which since belongs to it, right? Let's see, if I want to have another variable called local bang age, and I say 35, assign the 35 to this. Now if I want to return the age, the last statement that we have, we need to change that, right? So we need to say, okay, I want to return local bang age. So if you click on the test tool, now it will return the age, right? Any questions so far? No? Okay. So if you guys remember, right, I also mentioned that we can also use this expression editor as a calculator, or maybe as a plain editor window where you can do anything. So anyone can tell me, if I do something like this, local bang age and then plus local bang xyz, will it be able to give me the result of this? What do you guys think? So I'm going to get the output as 45. So it can also do the calculation based on the value that we have here. Now instead of having, see, the return statement, then, and this is the unique universal rule that the return statement can only return one statement at the end, right? If I try to return both the values without calculating, will it be able to return like this? What do you guys think?
No.
So if you try to run this, it will say we cannot return like this. It's a duplicate. It is again thinking that, hey, you have already declared local bank age. Again, you are trying to declare local bank age. Now, in case if I want to return both as together, can anyone think of a solution? It's not related to Appian. It's a very general solution. So if in case if you want to return this together, what solution you can think of? What is the universal rule with the return statement? That it can return the single statement, right? It cannot have multiple. So if you want to make this one as a single statement, is it not good if I put with the curly braces and say, hey, Let's have this. So now this, what it did, I just clubbed this in one set, right? Will I get the result now? Right? So what I did basically, I clubbed them as a two result in one set. So now my return statement is okay, even though it has multiple values, but what you are trying to return is a one set, right? So I got the result. Okay. Any question so far?
What's the use case of this? Where do we use this?
I mean, this is just to understand how the variables works in Appian.
Okay.
You might be using this, right? Let's say you have an interface and you have a text field there where you want to capture the name of the employee, right? So where you will capture that, you must have some variable, right? So that you can capture that information. So this is to understand how the variable works in Appian and how do you use those variables to make it work. Okay. All right. So is it like we can only capture the integer values? No. Let's say I'm going to have another variable called, I'm going to use this comment line to comment my output. I'm going to have another call local bank, let's say EMP name. And I'm going to assign a value called, if I want to assign a value as a text, then we will have to use a double quotes here. So use a double quotes and say Ram. It means my EMP name is now going to have a value called Ram. So if I want to return this, I just have to write local bank EMP name. Now if I do like this and click on the text rule, now you see that it will say this is a text. We have not mentioned the type of the variable anywhere, either for the integer or for the text. But local variable is smartly understanding that the value that you have assigned to it is what kind of. Okay. So can anyone help me to write, as an output expression? I would like to say Ram age is 35. That's what my expectation. Can anyone tell me how do I write that? I have Ram, I have 35. I just want to append this age is. So my output I'm expecting is Ram age is 35. At least try. If it goes wrong, that's fine, right? No one is going to penalize you for that, right? So just pick up. No penalties.
Can you do as a local bank age and local bank employee name together?
So it will give you the Ram comma 35, but my expectation is Ram age is 35. So from this expression, we are already getting this Ram as an output, right? What is my next target? It should have space age is, right? So in Appian, we have one more function called concat. This concat function is used to concat the text that you have. So if you want, you can use concat function, right? And then say this is open parenthesis for the concat and then closing parenthesis of the concat, and you want to separate the by what. So if you want to understand how the concat works, you can see the description given below, right? So it says, okay, you would like to have a local employee concat with what? So I put a comma and say double quotes, I say space age is space, right? So if I click on the text tool now, You see, it says Ram age is. It's concatenating the age is with the local variable employee. Now, if I want to add the age as well, then what I need to do?
In the local age,
Where?
this under same call the concat.
Where? So do I need to use a comma?
You can use the space and write it like 35.
I mean, we can do that, but if we have a hidden variable, then how to use that? So you can have a comma and then local bank age, right? If you click on the text tool, you'll see this. Right? Give me a minute. Is it clear, guys? Any question?
No.
Okay. Give me a minute. I need to make a call. All right. So, like if you want to declare, work with the primitive data type, right? We can have this number or text or whatever we have, right? But is it possible to declare an array within this Appian, right? And if yes, then how do we declare a array within the Appian? So let me comment this code and say I would like to have a array. So I'm going to give the name as local bank array. Maybe you can have array 1. And then if you want to declare any variable in Appian, which should be a kind of array, we need to use a curly braces. Okay. So if you use a curly braces, it means you will want to declare a variable with multiple values. So let's say I'm going to have a 4, 3, 7, 5, 6, right? Oops. Let's say 1 as well, right? Now, if I would like to return this, the same array, I just have to type local bank, the last statement, array 1. So these all are not getting considered. Why? Because we have commented the line of code. So to use the comment line, you can put this backslash and forward slash with the star, or you can simply click the line where you want to make a comment and then select this link here. So it will comment that line. Okay. So now if I have a local array which is having like 6 elements within this, if we try to click on the test tool, it will say list of number integers. Again, we have not mentioned what kind of element we are going to have in an array. By the value itself, it understands that okay, these are the list of the number integers. But let's say somehow someone have by mistake has given some text within this. This is also a valid array, could be possible. So what happens? What Appian will get from this? So if you click on the test tool, now it says list of the variant, because this has list of integers, but it also has some text within it, right? So it's a not a number integer list, but it's a variant. It has multiple variants in the array item. So it's also possible to declare an array with the by using the curly parenthesis. Okay. Any questions? Now, you see, right, if I have observed this, right, everything that we are writing inside this parenthesis where the local variable has been declared. So what does it mean? It means that the local variable that we have declared are local to this function. It cannot be accessed outside. What does it mean? So let's say I'm going to have another local variable function within this local variable. So we can do that as well. So let's say I'm going to have another local variable function, right? And then inside this, I'm going to use a local variable called local bang, let's say last name, and then I say Kumar. Okay, this is my last name, and I would like to assign a Kumar. So if I go and say local bang name, am maybe within the concat by using the concat function, put a comma, put a space, put a comma, and then say local bang last name. What is the output we are expecting here? Can I get Ram Kumar as an output?
Yes.
Ram space
Yes.
Kumar, right? Why, if I said this local employee name is local to this function, then how it is being accessible here?
Because of the row
Because
13.
right, because this itself is a part of this local variable, right? Now the same thing, let me comment this code here. Let me copy this code and comment from here, and then I would like to write this same code here. Will it work?
Yeah.
Sure, everyone? This local last name is part of which local variable function? This one, right?
Inside. Yeah.
Right? So it cannot be accessible outside of this parenthesis. So that's why it says, you see here, right? It says out of scope, in improperly scoped variable, because it is not able to find, even though we are using this curly braces, but this itself is being declared inside this parenthesis. So we cannot access it outside of this. Is that clear?
yes.
Now, is it a way of accessing this? Now, let's say something is inside, okay? If I try to return the same local variable here, local last name, if I return the last name, so what will be the output of this?
Kumar
What will be the output of this up to this code? Imagine all these things are not here. This is the code that we have. So what is going to the output of this code?
Kumar
Kumar, which is correct, right? Because we are returning the last name, and the last name is holding Kumar, so it will return. Now the output of this is going the whole as a whole part of this, right? So let's say I'm going to declare a local variable here, and I say local bang second name, right? I have declared another variable called local bang second name, and if I put a initialization here, and then I would say initialize with this, something like this. Then what is going to happen? The output of this is Kumar, which is going to initialize to what? Second name, right? So instead of this last name, now if I go and use local bank second name here, will I get my output?
no,
Why no?
because we have written outside the parenthesis now. We have declared
But so the output of this is what?
Kumar.
Kumar. So imagine inside the code this is happening, right?
Mhm.
Isn't it? And we are assigning the output of that particular to my second name, isn't it? So if I click on test tool, I get the value. So we cannot access the local variable directly outside of this function, but we can return it, right? And we can assign it to some other variable, and that variable we can use it to get my output. Is that clear? So we are not accessing local last name. So we are accessing the output of the whole statement, and output of the whole statement is Kumar, and that I am assigning to my second name, and then I'm using my second name as here.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
Clear? Okay. Thank you. Anyone has any doubt? So this is how we actually use the variables in Appian to save the values, to do the some manipulation, all those things that we do we do in Appian. We need it, right? So we do all the things. Okay. All right. Now, is this like we can only define the number integer or text or maybe the array? There is something called dictionary. So let's learn about the dictionary. Now, if you want to declare a variable as a dictionary, let's say I'm going to have emp employee, right? That's the local variable, and I would like to use a dictionary. To use a dictionary, again, a dictionary is a kind of an array. We need to put a curly braces. Now, to define a dictionary, it should be a key value pair. So I'm going to have call name as a Raj, age maybe 4, right? Now this is what? If you try to declare a variable in this way, this is called as a dictionary. If I try to return the same local bank emp, Appian will get this and say this is a dictionary because we are sending as a key value pair name and age. Okay, so this is also one of the good use case of the variable where you can declare as a dictionary type and then you can return it. Okay, now let's say I would like to have multiple dictionaries. So this is one dictionary where I say a local bank a name and then age is this. Is it possible to have a list of dictionaries? So if you would like to use a list of dictionaries, then what we need to do? I can simply copy, let me copy this, and then I'll put another curly braces top of it, something like this. Now I say comma separate and put this, and then I'm going to change the name is. Right. Now if I click on the text tool, now it says list of dictionaries having two items. First dictionary is having this, second dictionary is having this. Okay. So you will be working a lot with this dictionary data, and you need to understand how this data works, how to pull out the information from this, right? So we need to understand all those things. If you want to use name of this variable, how we can use the name, only the name? That's a very famous coding in most of the language. We just say dot name. It should be same. If you say dot name and if you click on the text rule, see it says now list of text of string, because what we are trying to return is not a dictionary but element from the dictionary. It is giving me only the name that we have in the list, Raj and Rajesh.
So if you
If
want
you
to do
want,
age, can we do dot age?
just say dot age and it will return you the age.
What if we want to do both?
Then you just don't do anything, just let it be local employee.
Okay.
Get both. Right? All right, guys. Any question, any doubts so far? Have you understand the local variables? What are things we can use? How do we use the local variables and all, right? See, very few members are interacting, right? I would suggest to please speak up, talk, ask questions. If you ask more, I can explain more, right? So yes, please do that. Okay. So if everyone has this environment, then please go and practice this, declare some variables, see how it works, play with some other data, you know, come up with the questions. Okay.
Okay, thank
So
you.
tomorrow we will not tomorrow. On Monday we will be discussing more on the Appian functions. We'll see some of the useful functions that we might need in our further developments, which is we use a lot of that. So we will be learning those functions as well, and then we see how it goes, and then we can proceed them. All right. But do please ask questions and do practice as well. Okay. Right.
Last question. Are
Yeah.
we doing classes on the weekends?
No. Monday to Friday.
Because of tomorrow, no class.
No class. You can talk
Yeah,
about.
the reason I'm asking because it's Friday for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you on Monday. Happy weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.